Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle.
Mr. Rob O'Hara.
Sprite Castle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another stream of Sprite Castle, the stream in which I play, discuss, and review Commodore 64 games. That's not really... Oh, the bits are flowing tonight. Look at Pinback loading up the channel with all those bits. Remind me, what are bits again? I forget. I don't know what to... Just kidding. I know how much you love my... my unavowed unknowledge of bits. How is everybody doing tonight? I've been away. I was at work all day, and I haven't got a chance to sit down and watch the news yet. I've been DVRing the news all day, so if something big happened today, don't spoil it. I don't want to know. Let's see if there's a way to do this. This isn't... You know what? I picked just the world's worst background here. If you can see this, this is the Mr. And so, we've been talking a little bit about the Mr. on the channel, on the Discord, on the Amigo. They call you Mr. Exodus. That's funny. So the other day I was trying to see if Exodus would run on the Mr. And so I Googled Mr. Exodus, and Google autocorrected it and said, I think it meant Mr. Exodus, which turned out to be a pretty not safe for work music album. Which I liked, that it was only one character away. What are we back to over here? Well, I was trying to get the Mist to have something running in the background over there, but God, I didn't set up anything for tonight's show. This is all everything is impromptu. Everything, I'm running late on every single part of the show. This is the behind the scenes. You tune in early, you get to see the magic happen. This is where the magic happens. Let's see. We need a color for the lights. The lights are way too bright in here tonight. Normally what I like to do, this is a little secret on the show, is I pull up my little app here that controls my lighting for the room. And I like to go pick me a nice orange that kind of matches the torches on the show. There you go. There's a little background secret. Should I turn up the brightness? There we go. That's not too bad. I like that. Unfortunately, I need the color puke to go with the content of the show. Boy, what a day. You know what? I was, what is going on? Well, I hear noises. Things are happening. I don't know what's happening. Something happened. Is there a way to get your bits back? There's another guy that gives them back, and his name is HowGetMod. So if you can talk to HowGetMod, he can hook you up. Tonight's drinks, we got a 1-2 combo here. The first drink is some good old-fashioned water. There's actually a meme on Facebook that says, you know you live in Oklahoma when your cabinet looks like this, and then there are like 50 of these cups. And unfortunately, it's true. Hey, you know what? We got some sports fans in the house tonight. Some of you may recognize the legendary name Billy Sims, who was a running back, and I just made that up, but I think he was a running back for the Oklahoma Sooners. And Billy Sims was a huge name in Sooner football, and then he went to the pros. He went to the NFL, and I forgot where he went. I want to say Detroit. Yeah, there you go. And he like broke his knee or something, hurt his leg. If you read about Billy Sims, he's definitely a guy that Did not, he reminds me, his story reminds me of MC Hammer, where he made a lot of money and he spent a lot of money. He made a lot of bad investments, and he ended up with no money. And so as part of his way to make money again, he teamed up with a restaurant that was just starting out. He loaned his name to it, and we have Billy Sims Barbecue. Billy Sims Barbecue is, inside the restaurant is very fast foody kind of feeling. Like you walk up to the counter and you just go down the thing. You say, I want ribs. I want this. What sides do you want, or whatever. But the food is really good. And then they have a couple of different sauces. They have like a sweet barbecue sauce, and then they have a really spicy one. What I like to do is, if you're not a college football fan, you probably don't know this, but the University of Oklahoma, OU, has what's called the Sooner Schooner, which is a big, stagecoach kind of looking thing. It's a schooner, and it's pulled by horses, and every time they score, the horses run out on the field, and it pulls this, and there's people on there, and it's a big fun thing. And they do it every time until a couple of years ago when it tipped over and it hurt some kids. So why was I talking about the Sooner Schooner? Why was I going down that road? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, as far as, and so when you go in, the whole restaurant is filled with Billy Sims memorabilia, like pictures of him playing football and, all those different kind of things. Oh, I know what I was going to say is I order, there's a thing on the menu called the schooner salad, which is a salad which then has a bunch of corn and stuff, and then you could pick any kind of meat, and I always get like smoked turkey or chopped brisket. It's literally like the world's most unhealthy salad. And then I don't feel guilty. I'm like, I got a salad. What do you want me to do? And then I put 2 packets of honey mustard in it. And then I squirt barbecue sauce all over it. It's really good. I'm sure it has 8 million calories. So drink number 1 is tall glass of water. It's not that tall, from Billy Sims Barbecue. And I'm going to say in my the top, it has a signature, like he signed the cup. I'm going to say I have these cups in white, clear, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, purple. I think there might be 2 shades of green. Like, hey, Lord Soup, what's going on? We're supposed to be playing games, but I'm talking about Billy Sims Barbecue. So that is the first drink. That's more of a palate cleanser, if you will, because this is sort of a White Russian, but it's a modified White Russian with a little bit of caramel vodka in it. And basically, this is a Dude Abides. This is what the Dude Abides drinks. More or less, slightly modified. It's actually, unfortunately, it's a little stronger. And look at this. I bought these on Amazon. They are like paper straws. I don't know if you could see them, but they're all like stripy and stuff, and they remind me of being 8 years old. So that's what I like to do when I'm sitting down to play some games, is make me a stiff alcoholic drink and a fun straw. What else reminds you of being a child? That's my childhood in a nutshell. So, hey, before we get started, let's talk about what's behind me. Is the Mister, which is what we've been talking about on Discord. If you're not on Discord, or if you haven't been following the conversation, the Mister is a now I'm looking at my phone because it's saying Amazon has an important thing. Oh, something shipped. I didn't need to know that. The Mister is a FPGA computer. And I had a Mist, but the Mister is the new version of it, and it can actually be any computer that you want it to be. And but I needed a HDMI. I didn't really need a HDMI monitor. I need a HDMI TV because I needed sound and stuff, and the Mister is HDMI. And so I went down to Sam's. I went over to Sam's and bought a 32-inch TV, which was on sale for $99, and I had a gift card for Christmas, so it was kind of free. But now we've got the TV set up, and you can actually stream directly from the Mist. I'm not going to be doing that tonight, but someday I will. I'm picking the Amiga core here. And I should put a disc in here. And then once you put a disc in, you can reset it or whatever. I put the TV on mute. But there's been a lot of questions as to how easy it was to get set up. If you're familiar with it, God, the screen is just so bright that it just gets washed out behind me. And now I see that I've got like reflections going straight off there from my other lights. So I may have to make some changes. I'll tell you something else annoying about this TV too is you can't really see it. My head blocks it, but every time that the resolution, you can see it right there. Every time the resolution changes, it pops up a little thing that says, "Whoa, here's a new resolution," and like I don't care. I don't care what the resolution is. Boy, you can't see that picture at all. It's like a cool fractal, but yeah, I don't know if I'd have to kill the lights in here. I don't know. Well, just imagine it's cool stuff going on behind my head. But yeah, I'm really loving it so far. And I really haven't had a chance to dig in. Like I said, man, it's a strong drink. It really clears the sinus buildup right now. All right, what are we doing tonight? So we're going to be playing a game tonight that I will be reviewing on tomorrow's episode of Sprite Castle. And I got to tell you this. I added a new feature for my 16-bit supporters, and those are the $10 a month guys. Those are the guys that are really, digging into their pockets and supporting the show. And I added a benefit, or whatever you call it, a perk on Patreon for those guys, and that is the ability to ask me a question that I will answer on the show. And one of my listeners asked me for this month's show, what are your top 10 Commodore 64 games? And I don't want to spoil it, but I will tell you this game is not on the list. I love this game. I don't love this version of it. Actually, we can flip over. Let's flip over to the game here. Ivan Iron Man Off-Road. What's funny is that this version, the naming is slightly different than some of the other versions. Other ones are Ivan Iron Man Stewart. I think this one is Iron Man Ivan Stewart. It's just slightly different, but just enough to where you can't find it. I also thought I was wrong. I thought, how there's a lot of games for the Nintendo that were released then later on the Super Nintendo, and they added the word Super. Like there was Punch Out, and then there was Super Punch Out, and there was all these games. There was Breakout, and then there was Super Breakout. I just made that one up. I don't think that's real. But there's a lot of games that were, originally on the NES, and then when they released them on the Super Nintendo, they added the word Super. Now, I first found this game, probably in arcades, I would say, but I think really the first time I played this might have been on the Super Nintendo, and this game is called Super Off-Road. And so I thought it was one of those games, so I thought on the Nintendo, the original NES, that it would have been Off-Road, and then the Super Nintendo was Super Off-Road. But I don't think that's the case. I think they're all just Super Off-Road. Hey, you know what? Before we get started, though, let's go back to this screen. let's talk about what's been going on the wall behind me. And of course, on this camera view, you can't see it all, but you can on the smaller one. So you know what? We'll go back to the smaller one, and you'll just have to squint and see what's going on. But we've got some new shelves on the wall behind me. And on the bottom, I believe that is a Commodore 64C. There's my old Amiga 1200. You would think that is the C64 Maxi, but it's not. That is my original Commodore 64 that I had growing up as a kid. The Maxi is over here on the floor, which is where it deserves to be. No, and then there's a Commodore 16, which I never, ever, ever used. I bought it when I was a kid. I forgot what magazine it was. It was some computer magazine. I think it was Enter magazine, which I really, really liked. And there was a news section of computer news. And one of the things that was in there one time was the new Commodore C16. And I thought that is the coolest looking computer. It was black with gray keys. And if you know anything about the C16, it's not as good as the C64. And actually it's closer to the Commodore Plus 4, but without the 4 utilities that came in with the Plus 4 that were built in its little home office type suite of applications. So it's kind of like the worst of both worlds. There are some good C60 or C16 games. Hey, hello from Finland. How are you? That is a long way away. And I'd like to say that it is just as cold here in Oklahoma, but probably not. But I think we're at, let's see what the old iPhone says, what we're at here. iPhone says it is 43 degrees. That doesn't seem right. I think it's colder than that. It looks like the low tonight is 37. And I think we're probably getting closer to that. But I'm guessing it's colder in Finland. Yeah, that's what I thought. So Vintage Volts. Hey, there is a flashback name. How are you doing, good sir? You know, the thing about the Mister is I've had a Mist, and I looked up on my blog, and I bought a Mist in 2013, and there were a few things at the time that made it seem a little outdated. I mean, the one thing that jumps out to me is that the original Mist is VGA only output. Which is not the end of the world, but it's certainly not convenient in today's age. So you got to run VGA out to a monitor, and then you got to use a 3.5-inch audio adapter to run to some sort of computer speakers or something like that. Where the Mister, which is what's running back here, is obviously HDMI out. Now you can buy an analog add-on board if you want analog out, and from there you can run it to any kind of video input that you want, but right now I'm doing just HDMI. I'm not at the point right now. I'm just getting started with it, so I'm not like looking for 100% authentic, when it comes to video and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get everything to work. I will say that it does use the micro SD cards, and I just ordered a 256 gig card, and the original Mist used the original SD cards, and I don't know, I don't think you could put something that big. In fact, the original Mist, it's right here. Hang on, I will get it. Make room for Fanny. I watched Scary Movie 2, which is my favorite scary movie just because I was such a big, as I watched Cabin Boy with my daughter the other day, and who is 15, and she's right at that age where that weird kind of humor kind of gets her. And I just forgot what a huge fan of Chris Elliott that I used to be. And so I ended up watching Scary Movie 2 because he's the butler with the fake little hand, and when he's carrying in the luggage into one of the people's luggage, he comes in and he turns around backwards, and so he puts his butt through the door first. He goes, "Make room for Fanny." So this is my original Mister right here. And as you can see, these are the 3 buttons where you had reset and bring up the on-screen display. And then there's a slot here where you would put a SD card in, almost like a floppy disk. Now the one thing that I like about the original Myst, which is not I don't know what the word is, insurmountable on the Mister, is that on the original Myst, on the side, you had 2 DB9 ports, joystick ports right there. And the Mister is all USB. Obviously, we all have or nowhere to get DB9 to USB adapter. So not the end of the world. But I always, the original Myst was designed to run Amiga and Atari ST cores. And so you could plug in, your mouse and your joystick and be set up. And then, of course, on the back, on the Myst, you've got your 4 USB ports. There's your audio out. You got your VGA. And then you have, I want to show this here. The original power adapter. Well, this is not the original power hole. We drilled this. A friend of mine did that for me. And then this is the original, I don't know if it's mini USB or micro USB power, whatever that is. But I ordered this. I mean, this thing was $300 and something to get shipped to the US. And after hooking it and unhooking it like 2 or 3 times, I pressed the power into here, and where it was soldered on the board came undone. And so the power adapter, a power connection, just pressed inside, and I could hear it shooking around, and it was falling apart. And so we looked up the power specs, and I hit up a friend that was better at soldering than me, and I was like, "Can you resolder this, please?" Because I was going to have to send it back wherever. I forgot where these came from. Was it Denmark? Maybe, I don't remember, but it seems like it was the Netherlands. I don't remember, but whatever it was like a lot of money to have it shipped, and it took a long time, and I really didn't want to do that. And so my friend said he could not reattach that, but if we found a power adapter that put out the same specs, he could just add a new power thing on here. And so that is what we did. So if you take a good look at the the hole around the new power adapter, it's not perfect. It's a kind of a Dremel job through the metal there, but it works. And anyway, the Mister is obviously the whole next generation of that. The original Myst was kind of intended, like I said, to have separate SD cards, and you put one in for each different core that you wanted to run. But the Mister is really designed to put all your different cores. And I bought mine from Mister Add-ons. I know there's a couple of places around. I was trying to buy one through Anonymous, but it just didn't work out. I was kind of waiting for him to have another batch available, and then the ones at Mr. Add-ons. And I think both those guys, I don't think either one's making a huge profit off of selling the pre-assembled units. They're just, kind of doing a service to the community. So that's what I ended up doing. But I got the Mister for $335 completely assembled, and that is with the DE10 board. That's with 128 megs of RAM. That is with the digital I/O board. You have your option of the digital or the analog I/O board, and with the 7-port USB hub. It also came with a power adapter. It's everything to plug it in and ready to go. So speaking of ready to go, it's time to start racing some of these little trucks here. So let's flip back over here. And I'm going to tell you, this is, again, first of all, I'm going to tell you, man, it's a strong drink. My wife makes a strong drink. This game, the actual way that the game works, like that it keeps track of who's winning. I'm not describing this, but it's the Commodore 64 version is like the arcade version, which is different from the Amiga and the Super Nintendo version. And so let me explain this real quick. On the Amiga and the Super Nintendo version, there are 3 places, first, second, and third place. And as long as you end up in one of those 3 places, you're considered that you didn't lose and you continue on to the next round. And those 3 first, second, and third places get, I believe, $150,000, $100,000, and $50,000. Okay. But the key is that if you finish first, second, or third, you get to continue. The arcade version and the Commodore 64 version, which is based off the arcade version, is not set up that way. They have a different way that it measures this. And the way it works is you have to beat all of the CPU-controlled trucks. And you start off with 3 lives. So you can not come in first place basically 3 times. So again, the difference on this version is that you have to come out in first place or you lose one of your lives. So it's not first, second, or third place like the Super Nintendo version, which I love. You have to get first place, which is very hard to do. Let's talk about one other thing here. And by the way, I'm going to adjust the volume because I've listened to some of my other streams and my Commodore volume is so low that I don't know. So let me, I'm going to turn this up here. I want you guys to give me a sound check real quick. Does that sound too high? Is that too low? I think the Pi 400 is a super cool idea. I don't know. You can't really see the layout of this room. But up until yesterday, I just started rearranging things. But, and by the way, do let me know, give me feedback on that volume. But I have my Ultimate C64 over here. I had a DOS machine. I had an Apple II. My Apple II is all the way in the back running a Defender of the Crown demo right now. You know, this whole room is full of machines. And then plus, actually there's a Commodore back there, but it is running on a Raspberry Pi. Hey, thanks, brother. And I just don't have room for another dedicated computer, you know, and especially not a Pi where I already have Raspberry Pis. Like if I didn't have a Pi, I would buy the Pi 400, no question. But I mean, I already have in this room like a couple of Raspberry Pis set up. You know what? I'm going to show you real quick, and then we're going to start. Pinback, I don't know if you're still here. But my friend Aardvark works in a metal shop. And when I first got my Raspberry Pi, he said, did you get a case for it? And I said, no. And he says, well, let me see what I could do. He designed this case and then, I don't know what you call it, like milled it at a metal shop or whatever. I'm going to show you the case closed first. Actually, let me go back to the bigger camera. It is a Commodore 64 Pi case, and so you can see it has all the cutouts, you know, for power. This is an original Pi 2, so you only have the other the 2 USB ports. And then I'm gonna open this because I don't have it screwed together right now, and you can see that the Pi just drops in here. And if you can hear this, I mean, this thing is solid metal, and it actually works like a heat sink on the top. So the top of it, just right in the back, gets a little warm, and you can feel the heat coming off that. And then I went and I actually taped off the front, and I went and got I literally went to Walmart and bought spray paint, and I bought the 2 colors to match the Commodore 64 disk drive or whatever. I love this thing so much. And of course, you know, now that the pies are faster and everything else, and the new pie won't fit. You know, if you, I've got my 3D printer back there in the corner, and with new things that come out, you know, you could just 3D print a new case or 3D print things, but I can't modify a case that's solid metal, unfortunately. Yeah, when in doubt, add more tables. I've got, these are 4-foot tables, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 4-foot tables in here. All right, let's get to this stupid game. And again, for those that joined late, I had to work today. I actually went to the office, and I wasn't able to watch the news. So if anything important happened on the news today, don't tell me. I DVR'd the whole thing. I'm going to watch it later. I need a Zoom floppy case. My Zoom floppy is literally just the PCB. I was looking up here because I think it's up there. And I also have the FC, what is it, the FC5025 adapter, and I put it in a, I had a 1541 that I got it in the entire head. Everything was locked up. I think somebody gave it to me in a pile of crap, and it just, I was like, I'm never going to fix this. And so I gutted it, and I made it into, I put everything of the FC5025, put it in there. So let's get to this game now. This game has terrible controls on the Commodore 64. Commodore 64, as you know, has 1 button. I love the Commodore 64. It's my favorite 8-bit computer. It's my favorite retro computer, but I don't sugarcoat when it has bad controls, and this game has bad controls. If you've played the arcade game, you know it's a driving game, so you got a steering wheel, and you're going to be doing the steering wheel with a joystick, which is all right. But you know that there's 2 different controls. You got to have acceleration or gas, and you got to shoot nitro. Well, they map the nitro to the only button. Of course, I'm using a gamepad, but they is that Baloney Davenport? How I like that. I used to know a guy whose last name was Davenport. So if that's your turbo, if the button is turbo, how do you accelerate? Well, you press forward, which is annoying because you can't hold forward the whole time and then do diagonals where you're trying to steer, right? And so what they did was, basically this game has a cruise control. So if you press forward on the accelerator, and when you get to the top speed, you don't have to hold forward anymore. You just steer left and right. But that's, as the kids say, annoying AF, because it just has you on full blast the whole time on the accelerator. So, and unlike Super Nintendo and other versions, the Amiga version, most of those versions, when you hit the side things, you continue bouncing forward. Hey, Mr. Ramos, how are you? Yeah, I mean, so this basically, you press forward until you're going. Let's get started here. I believe I'm player 2, so I'm the yellow guy. And then once it just automatically holds your acceleration. So let's get up to speed. And so I'm no longer holding forward. So it's just doing the acceleration for me. But notice when you hit walls on this version, and you'll see me do it a lot, you don't bounce forward like on other versions. You don't keep continuing forward. You kind of bounce back. It's almost like the rails are sticky or something, you know? And so like there's a turn where also you can't just go full speed through all the tracks on this version, which you can, like on the Super Nintendo, you can just kind of hightail it, you know, through the whole level. On this version, you can't. So I'm going to have a lot of bad things to say about my favorite computer tonight. Love me some Commodore 64. Now I'm going to try. The problem is now I'm in second place, And again, this is not like the Super Nintendo or Amiga version where I could finish it first, second, or third. I have to finish it first, or I'm going to lose one of my 3 lives. And so I've lost one of my 3 lives. Now, one thing that is interesting, number one, you get a lot more money in this version. The money is the same as the arcade, so you get 90,000. So now here's something else I don't like about this game, the Commodore 64 version. I don't even know if you can see it, but there is a white box around the nitrous, and as I can move it around there, but it's very hard to see which thing you have selected. I'm going to select, I'm going to buy 1 nitrous and 1 acceleration, but it's very difficult to see where that thing is. Okay, so this is almost like a, you know when you go to the fair? I was going to say this like everybody's done this, and I don't know if everybody's done this, but at the fair in Oklahoma, and God, I hate to say this, they have baby pig races. Do they have that at the fair near you? I'm guessing they don't have that at the fair in Finland. Okay. But yeah, so again, if you don't finish first, you lose one of your 3 lives. Now, those 3 guys being tied up there is good for me. Now, the other good thing is, if you notice, on the other versions, like Super Nintendo and I think Amiga as well, you start off with no nitruses, and you have to pick those up or buy them along the way. On this one, you start with 20, and of course I'm picking up more along the way. Now remember I said that the game automatically not automatically, but it's like cruise control. Like if you're full throttle, it just holds the throttle open for you. Here's the thing, I have no idea what my throttle is. I don't know if I'm going full speed or not, because there's no throttle detector. Yeah, the top part up there on that level where it goes like that, just bounces you into the wall, and it looks like it should be 3D, but it's not. All right, let's do some acceleration. And the main reason, again, that I'm playing this is because I'm reviewing this tomorrow on Sprite Castle. But if I were not reviewing this tomorrow on Sprite Castle, I would be playing the Super Nintendo version, which is a much better version of this game. All right. Let's see what we got here. Also, I will say this for this version. On the Super Nintendo version, what the hell's that guy doing? Like a drunk driving redneck training course here. On the Super Nintendo, my opinion, it's pretty difficult to feel all the upgrades. I mean, you know, when you get all your acceleration maxed out, your car does accelerate a little bit faster, and the top speed does make you go a little bit faster. But a lot of the upgrades just don't seem to make a whole lot of difference, like the tires and the suspension and stuff. But on this version, your car just feels like you're like drunk driving on the moon. Oh, now I'm going to be going the wrong way. I mean, you're just bouncing all over the place. You can't control anything. Of course, that guy's going to beat me now. So there goes another one of my lives. You're using the Fire Stick TV controller for typing, so I'd be very slow in your responses. Well, that's all right. I'm usually pretty slow in my gaming rewards here, so I do notice that this is definitely rooted in the 80s, where of course you just get hot chicks, you know. That would be, I mean, that would be the epitome of winning a race. You would just have girls with trophies at the end. Oh, my game's over. I mean, that's it. So second place, winning second place a couple times, and that's it. So yeah, I agree with you. The game does look good. Oh, I'm playing. Okay, I'm playing again. It does look good, and it sounds good. I mean, it's got decent music, you know. But as you can see here, like, I mean, I'm not bad at this game. Well, that's... And as Aaron knows, he's turned into enough streams to know that I'm not that good at games. But, I mean, this thing, I mean, you can see my truck just bouncy. And then again, like I said, when you hit those corner spots in other versions of the game, and this happens sometimes too, just a car, God bless America, will just trap you in the corner or trap you somewhere and just bounce into you like a pinball that's stuck in the corner between two bumpers. And there's nothing you can do. I also like that the nitrous bonuses on these, or nitros, look like hand grenades for some reason. They don't look like nitros in the other version. So I'm just going to pick up some bonuses. So yeah, let's get to our hot bug-eyed chicks. There they are. And notice they're all... oh, I don't even get a chick because I'm in 4th place. They didn't even show the other girls there. But like there, notice that they're all the same girl. I mean, they're the exact same girl with no color swaps at all. Just the same hair, the same bikini color. It's certainly, I mean, like again, you know, it does look good, but EA charges you to unlock the chicks there. This game has a kind of an interesting little background. It was, I think there's about 4 publishers' names on here, and I know that Leland is one. So it has the rights of the arcade, it has the rights of a lot of different companies. Yeah, see, look, I'm just so far behind. And I mean, you could just look at... Let's try to... I mean, can you... Even 20 nitruses is not enough. This game. And for anybody that caught my stream, I guess it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, where I did the Super Nintendo version of this game, which is kind of what got me thinking about the Commodore 64 version. I can... There's one track, if you play this game, and it's the one that has all the stalagmites, I guess you'd call them. It's just like towers of rocks. That's the one that just kills me flat out. But if I, you know, other than that level, I could just play that game forever. Just go on and on and on. All right, let's try to get some acceleration here. And you know, in the other versions, I don't... Nice, I went from 1st to 3rd. In the other versions, I usually only do a nitro, like, if I'm, like, right near the finish line and the other guy's going to beat me, and then you jump past him, you know. But maybe the better strategy, God, if I can make that corner, is to just constantly use them on this version and just try to... You know, get past everybody. You know, it's not bad. You know, I mean, Commodore users, I think, were spoiled. Now, this version, man, I forget. I think this is 1990, maybe even 91. I think it's 1990. So this was, you know, as the, like, you know, in 1990, my dad had we had a 286. So, you know, I was definitely getting into DOS games and you know, of course, I'd been into BBSs forever and stuff. But so this was pretty late in the for me, in the Commodore scheme of things. I mean, I got my Commodore in 85. I mean, in 91 I graduated high school, and the year after that I moved out. You know what I mean? So to me, the Commodore was kind of the game playing machine, and it was a great game playing machine. But I didn't want to do my homework on it. Go out to the living room, do my homework on PFS Write, some 80 column word processing. Come on, you ding dong! Don't cut me off there at the last minute. I guess in all the documentations, not just of this version, but all versions, it always says that the white. It always says the white truck, even though it's obviously gray or silver, depending on what version. But that one's always AI, and that one is supposed to be Ivan Stewart. Rainbow Islands is great. I see you guys are talking about White Castle because the Sprite Castle logo, which is the obviously the reference. If you listen to the opening, this is I don't know if this is trivia. I think I probably mentioned this before, but in the opening music of Sprite Castle, there's a low sample. He says Sprite Castle, and then it says we went to, and it goes Sprite Castle. We went to Sprite Castle, but the we went to is a Beastie Boys sample from Hold It Now, Hit It. And that's where they say we went to White Castle, but we got thrown out, which I always thought was funny. None of my friends as a kid knew what a White Castle was in Oklahoma. The nearest, Ramos says that the nearest White Castle is 250 miles away. Well, you got me beat, good sir, almost double, because the nearest White Castle to me is in St. Louis. And so my dad's family was in Chicago. And so when I was a kid, we would take road trips and go to Chicago. And so we would leave early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning, which would put us in St. Louis right at noon. And then we would have lunch at White Castle. And there's a White Castle in Chicago about a block from my grandma's house. And so they would always have, this is the best thing about White Castle is for those of you that don't eat White Castles. And by the way, if you go, oh, I've had White Castles, they have the frozen ones in my grocery section, then you haven't had a White Castle. Unless you've had it steamed by some 16-year-old kid, you've not had a White Castle. Until you've gone in and say, give me a 4-pack of sliders, and like I'm saying it like I'm a Midwestern professional, but every time we go to White Castles, like when we go to Chicago, we'll be like, oh, it's St. Louis, let's stop and have White Castles. And then we stop and we eat at White Castles and we have a good time. And then about 10 minutes later, everybody has diarrhea. And so then we're like, oh, we gotta find a bathroom. And we're like, oh, it's not good time. Yeah, I think, there was kind of a similar thing. Let's see, did I lose? So that was it. I lost, and yeah, game starts over again. Like I said, if the cars weren't so floaty, and if they didn't just like hang up when if they bounced forward when they hit the rail, and if the wind system was the same as the Super Nintendo, where you only first, second, or third, then at least you'd have a fighting chance. But having to come in first every time is just ridiculous. It's just impossible, But here we have lots of food places. Oklahoma, we used to. I was told one time it was the buffet capital of the world, and we just have so many restaurants here, all different kinds of stuff, and. So there's like East Coast chains that will come all the way to Oklahoma, West Coast chains, stuff like that. But we always had Whataburger, and we still do have Whataburger. And I remember people just going on and on, like, oh, Whataburger, you know, like older people and stuff. And, oh, did I beat him? I hit Nitro right at the end. First place, yes. And, you know, Whataburger is not great. I mean, it's okay, you know. But, yeah, we have Jack in the Box here, too. But here's the thing about, Whataburger that I found out is that it's 24 hours a day, and not just drive-through. The lobby is 24 hours a day. Lord Soup asks if we stop drinking. Here's to you, mate. It's so strong and yummy. Yeah, so Whataburger. So the thing is, a Whataburger. I have a Whataburger story, and I really shouldn't share it. I shouldn't share it on the show. But then I can't say that and not share it, can I? I will. I'm gonna have to tell this story, but I'm gonna dance around it. Let me think of the best way to tell this. I went to a back when I worked in the pizza business. So I mean, this is. Statute of limitations is long over on this one, guys. I mean, this is probably a 25-year-old story. I went to a party after work, and our assistant manager at the pizza place was not only our assistant manager, but he was also one of the biggest dealers in town. And so all the delivery drivers and everybody, and not me, I was as straightly, I mean, I was a drinker, you know. I was going to say as a kid, not like when I was 10, but, you know, when I was a teen or whatever, like I'd have a beer or something, but I did not want to have anything to do with drugs because I'd watched all those scary, Scared Straight. You know, I knew that if you had, you know, one puff of the magic doobage, and then you would lose your mind and you would jump off a roof and think you could fly and all those things like that, right? So anyway, I went to so after work, after we got off work, then me and the delivery drivers and whoever else would go to this manager's house, and we would watch movies till 6 in the morning or whatever, you know. I mean, when you're like 18, 19, it's like that time of your life where you found out that you don't have to go home. Like at 10 o'clock, you don't have to go home. You can just go to people's houses and hang out all night and stuff. And so we were sitting in this guy's living room, and there's a lot of smoking of the doobage going on. And not me, but I'm sitting in the middle of it. I mean, there is a giant cloud of smoke, and I'm in it. And I don't know what you think about contact highs, but I did not, I feel like I'm Bill Clinton, like I did not inhale. But I do remember starting to feel a little lightheaded, you know, and I was like, huh. And of course I was drinking at the time a little bit, but I mean, I was usually the driver in these things too, you know. And so, anyway, long story short, at like 2 or 3 in the morning, we were like, hey, you guys want to go get some water or go get something to eat or whatever? And this guy lived in this little small town, and their only thing open was Whataburger. So I was like, okay, I'll drive, you know. And so we went to Whataburger, and I did not think that I was high, but I had been sitting in this smoke for so long, I mean, for hours, and I was like, I don't think I'm high. And look at that, first place. And so anyway, we go through Whataburger, and we ordered food, and I left the drive-thru, and I took a bite of this burger, and I was like, I think Whataburger might be the best burger I've ever eaten in my life. And everybody started laughing, you know, and I was like, I'm serious, I think this might be the best burger I've ever had. And they all started making fun of me, you know, and they're like, oh man, you're so high. And I was like, no, I'm not high, I don't know, you know. But it's like, this burger is really good. And they were like, yeah, this burger is good. And anyway, I went back through the drive-thru. And I was like, they were like, hey, did we forget? Like, I pulled back up to the window, and nobody knew what I was doing. Like, nobody in the car. They were like, what are you doing, you know? And I pulled back around, and I was like, hey, that burger was really good. And the guy's like, okay, thanks. And I'm like, no, that's like the best burger I've ever had. And all my friends are like, dude, you're really high. We gotta go, man. You can't be talking to the Whataburger dude. And I was like, I just want him to know. Like, I was gonna cry. I was like, this burger just made me so happy. And they're like, all right, let's get on here and out of here. As a kid, again, when I say kid, I mean, it feels like a kid to me now. I mean, my son's 19, so I figure, you know, to me, that feels like a kid, even though, like, I get it. Wow, I did like an endo. Did you see that? Like, I did a reverse turn. Oh, it's Thursday there now. Yeah, I forget. You're pretty far east. It is 9 o'clock here. I found out early on that there were two kinds of drunks. There were happy drunks, and there were mean drunks. And like my little group of friends, you know, like you get like 4 or 5 dudes together, you know, and it's the wide world of retro. That's I want to make sure that's right. That's Dave, right? And yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, Dave. So I just remember thinking like at the time, you know, you would get like, you know, your buddies, of course. I mean, your buddies are kind of excluded, but there'd be like 5 or 6 people, you know, from school or college, and you'd all start drinking, and then there'd be like, you know, 1 or 2 guys that would just be like my friends were all like, oh my God, I'm so drunk. Let's watch cartoons and it'll be hilarious. And I'd be like, yep. Or they'd be like, oh, we're so drunk. Let's, you know, do whatever. You go, okay. And then there'd always be those one guy that would be like, hey, I'm so drunk. Let's go out and just trash people's cars. And we're like, no. Like, that wasn't us, man. We were never mean drunks. We weren't fighter drunks. We were all just fun, silly drunks. You know, we just had such a good time being underage alcoholics. Oh, every stream takes a turn, doesn't it? Oh, did I win? Oh, I did. Cut him off right there at the end. Yeah, I just I remember this time. I'm yellow. I'm the yellow truck, and so I was telling everybody earlier when you on the Commodore version, it's not like Super Nintendo or Amiga where you can finish first, second, or third. On this game, if you don't finish in first, see where it says credits 1? If you run out of credits, if you're not in first place, you lose a credit. And once your credits are out, the game's over. So this is much more difficult to... oh, I'm accelerated out. Let's get some high speed going on here. I don't know why I keep picking... What else do I got? Let's put some tires on this bad boy. And the ladies love the nitro. One of my friends had a swimming pool, and so we went over to his house one night, and we were just, I mean, everybody was just really liquored up, you know. And so we came up with this idea that we were going to have a diving contest, which is a really bad idea. Like drunk people jumping off of a diving board and doing dives, and everybody's just doing stupid stuff, you know. And so my buddy Jeff, who I've mentioned in many podcasts, was I think he was kind of looking out for everybody that night, you know. Just we didn't always have a designated person, but you know, he was hanging off to the side, and I decided to do this dive, and I named it. It was the Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and so I did this dive that was supposed to be like Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle. So I just went spread eagle, just jumped, you know, off of this diving board. It was like, you know, and I'm the yellow truck. Oh, is that old? Oh yeah, that is yeah. Sorry, I scrolled up too far there. Does the Amiga have the same one as this? Yeah, you know what? When I die in this one, I may flip back over to the Super Nintendo one just because I love it so much and I love playing it. So, long story short, I'm in the water. I've just done this crazy, you know, spread eagle, Rocky the Flying Squirrel dive that I dubbed it, and all of a sudden somebody's got their arm around my neck like a headlock. And so I'm like trying to fight him, and I'm like what's going on? Like somebody's trying to kill me underwater, you know? And so I'm like kicking, and anyway, it was Jeff, and he thought that I had like knocked myself out when I hit the water or something, which I mean, here's the thing. I mean, like when we partied pretty hard back then, so I mean it's possible that I misremember the fact that I was in control of my facilities at that moment. But I thought I was doing just fine. But then when somebody grabs your head and all of a sudden you start thrashing around, like I was not making things better, you know? And so eventually he got me to the surface, but I felt like I was getting to the surface on my own. But I didn't think there was a problem. But then there was a problem and someone was helping me to the surface. So I will tell you, since we're just, you know, I get on a topic and we shoot the baloney here. Not Baloney Davenport. We don't want to shoot him. Let's see. What do I want? Let's get some shocks. All right. And some nitrous. One of my most famous stories, which you will all enjoy, because in all my best stories, I'm the butt of the story. Now, see how my car's like flying now? I'm not even hitting nitrous. That is, I mean, this version is the upgrades really affect your car. And the fact that I'm sliding so much is because I got crappy tires. But I hate wasting money on tires in games and real life. So, my senior year of high school, I had 3 or 4 friends come over, all dudes. And we decided we were gonna, well, let me backtrack on this. My senior year of high school, this was spring break. My parents went to Chicago to attend a wedding. So they left to go to a wedding, and took my sister, and decided that my senior year I was old enough to stay at home by myself, which I was not. And so I was like, I will just stay here and read books. I won't do anything. And the minute they left, I called my friends and I was like, we're having a party at my house. And so I had Jeff and Andy, my 2 good friends. I had another friend named Lewis, who was a good friend of mine, who moved away, but he was a good friend. And they were all, you know, my same age. We're all 17, 18. I was 17. And then there was one guy who was like 25, who was the grill cook at the fast food place that I worked at. So it's funny because it was literally a kicker at my house. It was not a kicker. It was a Keystone, I think Keystone Light party or something like that. So the guy that was 25, he was old enough to buy beer, obviously. So he bought all this beer, and so we had this party, and so we're like, hey, let's start. Let's just drink beer, be dudes, you know. And we're drinking all this beer, and at some point, my friend says, "Hey, don't your parents have a video camera?" I'm like, "They sure do." And so we get out the video camera, which hooked up to my parents' VCR, and turned it on, and we were just drinking beer and saying the most vile, disgusting things. Hey, I know this girl. We're going to get this girl over here. And, just talking crap like teenage boys do, unfortunately, sometimes. But pretty raunchy and pretty, drunken behavior. And as the night goes on, let's see. Oh, there I am. Problem is I'm going too fast to control myself. See how I'm... Oh, boy. I got to slow down, and then I got to speed. Yeah, this game's over. That's one bad thing about this game is, you get behind, like, one bad corner, and now, like, there's no chance of me catching those dudes. And so, anyway, so we have this whole night, but this is like, days before my parents are going to be home, right? And so the next morning, I had one trash can in the living room. Yeah, see how it's just, it's very annoying. I emptied out the trash can, and I found every beer bottle lid and matched it up with a bottle so that there were no spare lids. I went through I opened up the house. I let the house air out for 2 days so there wouldn't be any smell from beer. No, I didn't have to drink and drive because the party's at my house, So we did all, and like every preventative thing. And my parents came home. Okay, so my game's over. So yep. Oh, no. I still got one more life. I'm at 0 credits now. Man, you know what? I feel like I'm gonna go put some tires on this bad boy, and maybe I can get stuff under control here. And so, anyway, to wrap this story up, 3 years later, literally 3 years later, I had already moved out, and my parents had gotten divorced. So my dad just lived at home with my sister, and it was her senior year. And he was going out of town for a weekend trip. And he asked my sister if she felt comfortable staying there alone, and she said yep. And told her that if she needed anything, she could call me. And then as he's leaving, he says, "Hey, by the way, I don't care if you have some friends over." She probably asked. She's like, "Hey, can I have some friends over?" And he says, "I don't care if you have friends over, but don't be an idiot like your brother and tape the whole party and then leave the tape in the VCR." So then she called me and was like, "What's he talking about?" I thought I had gotten away with that party for 3 years. And then I even had the tape, but I think I had left it out and went back and got it later or something. You know what I mean? I thought that I had pulled this off, and I obviously didn't. And my dad has brought it up to me a couple times in joking fashion, since then. Yeah, for 3 years, I thought I'd gotten away with a party. And I don't have the tape anymore. I don't know what happened to the tape. See, there we go. Oh, that guy knocked me back around the other way. You know what we're going to do? We're going to Nitrous City here. Boing. 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 Let's see if I can use 32 nitros on this level. Boing. I know I've watched the tape, but I don't know where the tape is now anymore, which is odd because I've archived hundreds of VHS tapes. For some reason that one, I probably got too embarrassed to get rid of it. But yeah, I literally thought I had gotten away with something for years, and then was reminded that I had not. Old Jack Flack doesn't always pull it off. A lot of times Jack Flack gets away with it, but did not get away with it that time. And fourth place, and I believe that's the end of my game. And so I think what I am going to do is switch over to the Super Nintendo version. And look at that, good timing. It's good Foley. Now we're going to switch over to Billy Sims Water. Oh, you know what I was going to do? Pause this. Alt pause. Let's see. Arcade Concept. Leland Corp. Oh, published by Virgin Mastertronic. There's a combination. Virgin Games, right? And Mastertronic. Technical advisor Ivan Stewart. Steve Turner. I don't recognize too many of those games, right? Or guys' names. Jason Page, maybe. But copyright 89, Leyland. And then Virgin Games, and then Virgin Mastertronic. Oh, and then Graft Gold, which I believe I just saw recently. I think I saw Graft Gold when I was talking about uranium. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Do I have... Surely I do. Let's see what we got. There we go. That's what Daddy likes. SNEX. That's what I'm talking about. Load game. And I have one game. Let's get that guitar ready. Imagine that is so freaking loud on this side. That's gotta be loud right now. How's that? Let me turn it down a little bit. I love the. I was talking about this the other day. Oh, you know what I can do? Let me turn down the volume on my system here. There we go. And then as long as you guys can hear it. That looks about right on the audio range. If that's too loud or too soft, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go with that. That was me. All right. All right. Let's see what we've got here. We talked last time we played this. We talked a little bit about the Seinfeld bass. Oh yeah, you know what? Usually I fill everything up. Usually I fill the nitrous up all the way. Well, we're gonna be on our own on race one. No nitrous for us. Well, there's two, but wow, it's so. I mean, look at the difference in between the two versions. Why am I going so slow? Is there a reason I'm going so slow? Should I be? Maybe it's just because I... No, it can't be because I played that other version. Something is weird. Oh, you know what the problem is? I'm going slow because I thought I was yellow. And I'm obviously red. And I was like, why is my stupid yellow guy going so slow? I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. Oh my gosh. Alright. That's me crying because I'm so old and stupid. Oh, alright. I mean, literally, if you look right there, it's a red truck on my side. I was like, why is my... But I was like, in my defense, I'm hitting every corner perfectly. Red O'Hara. Let's get some nitrous here. Let's load this bad boy up. All right, let's teach this game a lesson. It's one of my favorite sayings, by the way. When I had my my STI, my WRX STI, I would tell my wife all the time, like some guy would pull up next to me and I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna have to teach this guy a lesson. And she's like, he doesn't need to be taught a lesson. He doesn't need a lesson. You're watching the yellow cart too? Yeah. Look at that. Now who's in front, bad boy? Red is in the lead. Of course, you gotta fight these ding-dongs. But of course, again on this one, as long as I'm in the top 3, who cares, right? So yeah, I was always teaching people lessons, you know, and oh, I thought that was the last lap. When I went to Vegas one of the first times, I found this game that would, I think it was called Let It Ride, and you could win, and then instead of collecting your winnings, you could let it ride and just like double down, you know. And I was like, I would do this, and then my wife would be like, hey, you need to get your money. And I'm like, well, I was going to, but I'm going to have to teach this game a lesson. And then it turned in later on that night, she was like, did you learn a lesson? I was like, yes, the lesson is that Vegas always wins. So indeed, there was a lesson to learn, but I just kind of learned it the hard way. Vintage Volts, are you, remind me, are you still doing podcasts? I know that you were doing some for a while, and I've lost track. Vintage Volts, if you're not following Vintage Volts on Twitter, he is definitely, I believe, I'm going to pull a story out of my butt here, and this could be wrong, but I believe I remember one time on Twitter you were talking about, and if this wasn't you, just pretend like it was, fixing the elastic bands inside of a boombox, that you'd got a boombox and the tape player didn't work or something. And I think that was you. But Vintage Volts fixes all kinds of cool stuff and collects all kinds of cool stuff. And has definitely done some podcasts. And so there's my plug for Vintage Volts. If you're not following Vintage Volts on Twitter. Yeah, History of Personal Computing. That's what it was. I remember that. I have tried to do podcasts with people, and I did the did you do that with Mike McGinnis? I did the oh, you going to sleep? Well, I know that it's late in Finland, sir, so is it Litwarski? I want to get your name right. Yeah, on Twitter. I don't know. Vintage Volts. I don't know if you stream on Twitch, but all right, here we go. Yeah, I thought that was your boombox video. You know, do you ever have things in life where you just decide that, you know, whatever a price is, like you're not going to pay 1 cent more for something? And I do this on occasion. Like I'll see something on sale and then I want one later and it's not on sale and I won't buy it. I'm like, I would never pay that price. I only want the price, you know, when it was on sale. And I recently was looking on Amazon and I found these, they look like vintage boom boxes, but they have Bluetooth and USB on the side, but they look like old school boom boxes. And they were $99.95. And so I put it in my list on Amazon, and I told my wife about it, and I was like, you know what, if I don't get one for Christmas, I'm gonna buy one after Christmas. And she said, well, send me the link when you get back to the house, you know. And oh, are you out of here, David? But You know, Vintage, you should, I do some different stuff. I've tried some different stuff on, as far as streaming, like showing videos and doing different things. And I'm still kind of, I feel like I'm moving towards the head of the dummy class. Like I'm moved about halfway up in the kindergarten. I'm getting a little closer to the blackboard, you know? Anyway, so this boombox was $99.95, and I was like, you know what? That's about my top end for it. And I went to go eat lunch, and I came back, and it was $119.95. Like the price went up $20 while it was on my list, like while I had it in the Amazon thing. I've never seen it just go up while you had it open and hadn't bought it yet. And I was like, that's too much. Like I was good at $100 and 120 just seemed too much. So, oh no, I hate when that happens, when you miss the corner. Let's do a little nitro, get back in this race here. As I like to say on this game, every race I shoot for second place. I mean, Ivan Stewart, it's not worth burning all your nitros to win. So, but if I can hit that nitrous there, we'll be good. You bore yourself when you talk. So I found a boombox at a antique mall, and then it said it says powers on, and then it said cassette untested, which is the biggest racket in the world. I hate when people say that, because how hard is it to test? I mean, you're in an antique mall. There are a lot of people there with cassettes, so you're like, oh, I wasn't able to walk, next door and get a cassette tape and throw it in to see if it worked. So it was just like reminded me of being a arcade collector, all the arcade stuff. Like I used to tell people, there's only two types of arcade games. There's untested, which means it doesn't work. And then there's fully tested 100%, which means you got a 50-50 shot of it working. Buy a vintage boombox and a Bluetooth cassette adapter. Yeah, that's really what I want. It's hard to explain, and not to you guys. I think a lot of you guys get it. My wife was like, "Hey, now that you have that Mister thing, that computer, you could get rid of all those computers." I was like, "Get out." There's something about it that there's nothing like, and again, you can't see, now you really can't see it because I put this giant monitor here, but back in this corner is a maybe let me go to this. No, I'm like literally right in front of it, but there's a Apple II back there that's turned on that I was running some demos on earlier. And there is nothing in the world feels like banging away on a vintage Apple II keyboard, Oh, this is a 2E. I actually have about 4 or 5 2s. I've got some 2 pluses. I run the 2E just because it's a little bit more compatible with a few things, but I've got a CFFA 3000 card, and you have to be able to have an internal, it's an internal card, so it won't work with the, oh boy, going the wrong way in the first lap. We will not be having that, sir. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, coming through. I don't know if there are other, there probably are USB or SD solutions for the Apple, but the CFFA 3000, which by the way, somebody on the Discord posted an auction link to a CFFA on eBay that just sold for $900 and something. And if anybody wants to buy my CFFA 3000 card for $900, hit me up after the show, and I will. If you're in the Continental, I was going to say I'll drive it to your house, but got too many Finns showing up here. I can't be driving it to Finland, but Yeah, it's a great card, but you know, somebody's offering me $1,000 for it. We'll talk. The cool thing, of course, about the CFFA is it can emulate a hard drive as well as floppy drives. You know, here's the thing about a lot of yeah, so okay, that floppy emu for the Apple, I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, we can definitely take a look at your 2C, and if you need, like I said, if you need me to make some discs or something, if you want to test, I've got everything hooked up now, so I can definitely do that. But for me, I have, like, I had somebody one time give me a Atari 800, I think it was. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I hooked it up and I played around with it. And I was like, it just does nothing for me because I didn't have one. None of my friends had one. It was just not part of my world as a kid, you know? And so the more that I mess with this stuff and you know, Vintage Volts is the same way. I know Aaron, Amigo Aaron's the same way. Like when you've been doing this stuff for a few decades, you know, there's just not time to devote to everything. You can't run everything all the time. And so when I fall back on my favorites, it's the stuff that I had personal exposure to as a kid. I don't have a TRS-80. I would like to get a TRS-80. You know, that was my first computer, Model 3. Yeah, and that's the other problem too, is working on some of this stuff, you know. Yeah, that FujiNet looks awesome, man. I know Boat has that FujiNet. I don't know who else has one, but yeah, that FujiNet's crazy. I have a oh, not the RNet, but what was the Commodore Flyer? I still have a Commodore Flyer, and I don't use it. You know, that's the other thing is you get to the point where, again, I'm not telling you guys that nothing, but I went through this with the Commodore 64 Maxi. I was like, man, I really got to get that Maxi. I really want that Maxi. And I'm looking around the room and I'm like, well, I have a Ultimate 64 set up right here, and I have my real 64 set up over there with an Ultimate 64 connected to it. And over here I have my SX 64, and over here I have, you know, my BMC C64, and I had my Mist, and now I have a Mister. So, like, how many ways do you need to play Commodore 64 games? You know what I mean? That's the thing, is you only need so many solutions. That's where I start, and honestly, that's where I hit with the Pi 400. Was like, I love it, but I was like, I've got a Pi, I've got another Pi. What would I be doing on the Pi? Oh, I'd be, you know, be running RetroPie or something. I got a machine, I got a RetroPie box right here, and then I got the Mister sitting next to the RetroPie. You know what I mean? So you just get to the point where you're like, you're just adding on and not getting to spend time with the stuff. This drink is way weaker than the other one because it's water. I had my parents had a SX64 with, when they had their own computer store, and which was in the mid 80s. And that is is that the same one? This might be a different one. I know I got an SX64 one time off of eBay back before prices were nothing. And I remember that I paid $100, and that was with shipping. So I think it was like, I think the computer was $60 and the shipping was $40, or the vice versa, one or the other, but it added up to be $100. And the SX64 is just such a fun, funky little machine. I got chewed out at work one time. I went to a meeting, and I was sitting in a meeting, and it was a meeting that it was one of those meetings where I had nothing to add. Oh, give me that money. And I had a ZX 81. I'm not supposed to talk about ZX. I've been scolded for making disparaging marks about Spectrum computers, so I don't talk about them. But I bought one and I gave it away to someone. Someone was like, "Oh, I always wanted one of those." I go, "Here you go." Anyway, so I went to this meeting at a oh my gosh, a sidewalk fine. That's awesome. I had a story in the beginning of Commodore that I went to a computer swap thing, and someone had propped open the front door with a Commodore 64 a bread bin. They'd used it as a door wedge, and I think it was for sale for like $3 or something, and it was untested. And finally, at the end, I was like, I kept worrying. Yeah. I kept worrying at the end. I was like, somebody's going to steal that Commodore, and nobody cared. Everybody was like, so? And at the end of the day, I went out there and I was like, I'm taking this home. Like, I made a big deal and nobody cared. And anyway, that's one of the many C64s that I have in the pile. Yeah, I don't really have room. And again, like I said, you get to the point. I'm at the point now where I kind of feel like I went to the Smithsonian one time, and I'm not comparing myself to the Smithsonian, but bear with me. I went to the Smithsonian and I was looking for something, and I ended up talking to a person that worked there, and they told me, and I forget what the exact number is, but it was something like 90% of what the Smithsonian owns is in storage and 10% on display. And I feel like I'm sort of at that point now where like I have so many different Commodore systems that I don't have room, or there's no reason to put them all out. So, but I can put them in storage and then I can rotate them out, so later on, if I get tired of playing stuff on the C64 Ultimate, maybe I'll break out the SX64 or something. I think there's some issues with the SX64 and the 1541 Ultimate, if I remember right. Maybe it doesn't have because there's no cassette adapter? There's something. But yeah, it's just the it's just that thing of like, you don't need all your Commodores out, but you could rotate them through and stuff. I got I sold this. This was about, I'm going to say 5 years ago, which in my world means it was probably 7. But I answered a Craigslist ad that said, Commodore computer, monitor, disk drive, tons of original software, or tons of software, $50. Now, if you've been doing this stuff long enough, I did not need another Commodore, and I did not need, I definitely didn't need another monitor. I'll always take a working disk drive, but the software does it for me, You look at it and you're like, oh, is it going to be copies of software, like bootleg stuff that you could go through and find hidden gems, or is it going to be original software that you can add to your collection? Like, I didn't know, And so it was, like I said, $50. And so I contacted the guy and I went over, and it was a Commodore 128D, which I literally had heard of, but I had never seen one in real life, which is their Commodore's pizza box shaped system, with a built-in disk drive in the front and stuff. And when I bought it, I wasn't that excited about it. I was like, oh, this is a different form factor Commodore. And I was more excited about the software, and I probably got You know what? After this race, during the pause scene, I want to show you the software I got. Not all of it, but I want to show you the chunk of software. And that might be a good place to call this. We'll see here. You will flip out when you see the software, though. This game has such good music. I love 16-bit music. I love 16-bit pixel graphics. I just feel like this is the epitome of gaming. I love platform games from this era. I love all these kind of games. I just feel like when we went to polygons in the PlayStation and Nintendo 64 era, we lost something. All right, let me grab this software stack real quick. All right, let's turn this down just a little bit. So when I bought this, Saturn was cool too. Saturn, I never had a Saturn, and then someone gave me one time, and I had the Saturn, but I didn't have a joystick. And then I bought the joystick, but I couldn't find the power supply. And then I found the power supply and I couldn't find the video cable. And so somewhere I have a complete Saturn, but I've never had all the pieces all in the same room at the same time. So when I bought that Commodore 128D, can I pause this? Yeah, there we go. So when I bought that Commodore 128D, the guy said, "Hey, I've got all this software." And he goes, I kept all this stuff is in their original albums. And I was like, original albums? I was like, well, that's weird. So, moving stuff around here so I can stack this stuff. This is not all the software I got from this guy, but this is just the quote unquote albums. Let's go over to here we go. Super Boulder Dash. The disc is not in here because I have all the original discs in a separate pile. But I do have all the original discs with all of these as well. Lords of Conquest, Electronic Arts. These are so going to fall off this desk in a second. Starflight by Electronic Arts. Again, these are all the album style. This one is heavy because it's got this big giant manual in here. This one is actually in a big code wheel and everything. This is a IBM version for some reason. It's in this stack. Bop and Rumble. Classic fighting game for the Commodore 64. Where you get to beat up old people and gorillas. It's a fun game. Here's a game that is a favorite around the Amigos Discord. The original Bubble Bobble. There's Bub and Bob. The Commodore. Again, all these are the thin style, which was made. I just had my mind blown. Here's one you don't see very often at all. So it's not quite the same. This is a very strange style. The Indiana Jones and the Lost Kingdom, and it feels like a book, like a hardback book, like the books you used to get in school. This is a Mindscape release. This is a game that I had never heard of before I got it in that little thing. I think I got this. I might have got this from somebody else, actually. Vampire's Empire. I'm a sucker for old school. I love the artwork. Here's a classic. Rockford, which you may know, you may not be familiar with the name Rockford, but if you look at the back, you will instantly know who Rockford is. It's a guy from Boulder Dash, isn't it? I don't know, maybe it's not. Yeah, it's a guy from Boulder Dash. Here's some more of the man, you know what? There was a God, keeping the receipts. That stuff's so cool. I don't think there's any receipts in any of this stuff, but I love any kind of meta stuff. This is a classic music construction set. That's a early EA title. I think this is one of the first ones when they it says you may be an unheralded musical genius. Maybe. Maybe I am. Here's a man that we lost in 2020. Classic Chuck Yeager, advanced flight trainer. This is a Taito release. I did not know Taito did, and this is a cool inside here too. Again, the disc is with my other stuff, but these are all 100% complete. This is Alcon, and the thing I always liked about this, you got this cool comic book style artwork in here, and this is one that I remember. This is something that I always loved. If you look at the your coffee cup is a desert. I get that, my friend. I'm going to move my Keurig in here now that I'm working from home all the time. You see these cool pictures or whatever, and then there's a note underneath them. I don't know if you can make out the text underneath those pictures there, but it says, above screen must be turned sideways for correct view. So they put I guess they put them in landscape or something. It's very strange. The manual in there. Now, I'm going to save that one because it's out of order. Why is it out of order? Because here is another Mindscape title. Mindscape published anyway. Xevious, classic. If you grew up in arcades, you definitely knew this one. Then, once this is one of my favorite stories, my favorite trivia facts, and I've mentioned it a few times on Sprite Castle. This is Accolades Killed Until Dead. But the trivia fact, and I'll probably forget part of it, but Atari, when the guys, David Crane and Whitehead and all those guys split off from Atari to form Activision, one of the reasons they picked the name Activision was because alphabetically it came before Atari. So if you were looking at a catalog, you would come to the Activision games before you came to Atari. And then when the guys split off from Activision to form Accolade, they picked that because Accolade, ACCO, comes before Activision. And so Accolade alphabetically is before Activision. And then the guys that split off from Accolade formed Acclaim, which is ACCL, which comes before Accolade. So you have Acclaim, Accolade, Activision, Atari. And I always thought that was a funny thing. Now here's the reason why I didn't show the other one out of order, because this is Skyfox, which when this game came out, I just thought this was the neatest game. I had this on the Apple II, and then later got it on the Commodore 64. And one of the things I loved about the cockpit view from inside the game, right, exactly, yeah, AAA towing, AAA123. I always thought the cockpit in this game looked a lot like the inside of a snowspeeder from The Empire Strikes Back. It's that same kind of cockpit view. And so I always loved Sky Fox. The reason that I didn't want to show the other one is because it's Sky Fox 2, the sequel. They're back and better with more sky and more foxes. That's right, Sky Fox 2. What does it say here on the back? Fastest fox in space. Wow. Galactic duty calls. Strategy has its reward. And then it says, no time to rest. There's no time to rest. Now in Sky Fox 1, lots of time to rest. That's something they don't really advertise here. In fact, you can see this guy literally just resting. But Sky Fox 2, no time to rest. So yeah, that was part of the software pickup from that little Commodore 6. And immediately when I posted about it online, people started offering money for the Commodore 128D. And as I told you, I just had so many Commodores that I didn't need it, you know? And so I define flipping as buying something and intentionally, with the intention of turning a profit. So I wouldn't say that I was flipping it, because I didn't, when I bought it, that wasn't my intention, was to sell it to, exactly, loading time. Sometimes I stream games and then I pause them so I could tell dopey stories. But that definitely was something. Like, I bought it and I sold it for a pretty good profit, but I kept what I wanted. I kept the software. I got probably 100 bootleg discs. I've got a disc box behind me with a couple thousand 5 1/4 inch floppies. I got 5 1/4 inch floppies for the rest of my life. Just I've archived most of them. Someday what I'd like to do, I've done my all the you're flipping everything. I should get rid. I am going to sell my Mist, just because now that I have the Mister, I don't need it. But whenever I sell it, somebody will get a good deal on it, because I see every now and then, like I see younger kids online, like I see on Facebook. I cross paths with kids or whatever. And I'd rather get them a good deal and get them a leg up, into the hobby, and get them hooked and into collecting or playing or something. Of course, usually when I do that, about 10 minutes later, they go flip the thing that I just gave them a good deal on. So, a few of them have made me regret it. But what can you do? As my wife says, once you've made the deal, your intention was good, and then what they do with it, that's on them. I really had to learn that lesson when I was getting rid of my arcade collection. It was funny because I'd rather sell a game to $50, I'd rather get $50 for a game and sell it to somebody that loved it than $100 knowing that guy was going to part it out and just sell the parts to people. I mean, does that make sense? Not really. I would like to have a big box Amiga someday. I've got a Amiga 500, which I think is out in the shop. And then I've got my 1200 back there on the wall. I didn't talk about the rest of the stuff on the wall, but we got a lot of podcasts to go. But I have those boxes that are up there that are... There's two 1541s, and those have drives in them. Those are my original 1541s I had as a kid. And then there's a boxed 1581, and there's I think is that the Maxi box? Let's break the illusion here just for a moment, though. And above that is my original Commodore 64 box that I got in the 80s. And then there's my Mac Classic, which just died. So I will be hitting up Vintage Volts. Actually, it's easier. I mean, it's not a hardware issue. I don't know exactly what happened, but it's booting up and it's saying that there's nothing on the hard drive, but I can hear the hard drive spinning up, and the hard drive used to have an image on it. So I don't know where I'm going to be at on fixing that. Maybe I just need to get the install discs and try to reinstall, but I mean, I got a feeling I got a hard drive issue going on. And I believe, oh no, wrong way. Now we're twice wrong way. I'm in trouble. You said you wanted to be around when I screwed up. Oh wait, that's hot soda. Would it help if you got out and pushed? It might. Okay, I wasn't last, so I didn't lose. My buddy had a Amiga 1000 when I was a kid. So that was the first system I ever saw with the big flicker fixer that was on the front of his monitor to make it not flicker so bad, you know, and external drive and all that. So that was my first exposure to the Amiga was a 1000. And then I got a 500. Oh my gosh, let's do it again. Everybody be quiet. No talking. I gotta catch up. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, so I got a 500 and got a bunch of floppies and stuff, and so I did that for a while. And then I got my, finally got that 1200, and that was my system for a while. I was, oh no. Okay. Am I out of nitrous? I'm out of nitrous. I know what I'm buying with my next winnings. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like to get a 1000 or something. You always want what you don't have, you know what I mean? Like I have a 1200 and a 500, and people are like, oh, I'd love to have a 1200. And then I go, oh, I want a 1000 because that's the one I don't have. But, honestly, I mean, I never had an Amiga back in the day. My friend had one, and I would play a little bit over at his house, but the Mister, for the most part, scratches that itch for me on the Amiga. I think the Mister is going to scratch a lot of itches of things where I didn't own the original hardware. And it's so great to be able to explore things like, you know, without having to buy a Atari ST and spend, you know, several $100s and maybe have to fix the hardware and do all that, you know. Yeah, I like the 500. Like I said, it's maybe I'll throw a GoTech in there maybe someday or something. I do have some pretty big stacks of Amiga floppies, so I don't have any shortage of stuff to play on it. Eventually, I'm going to hit that one track, and then when I hit that one track, it's all over. I go into the office on Wednesdays. I went to work today. I was in the office, and I got this email, and I work in a federal building, and I got an email that said, due to the current situation, they've declared a curfew in DC, and if you're at the DC DOT headquarters, then you need to basically not evacuate, but you need to go home now. And I was like, what in the world is going on? What's funny is because normally I'm home all the time, and I'm always, all right, now look at this. This is when the game, I mean, I love this moment where everything is maxed out. Top speed, top acceleration, maximum tires, super shocks, and nitro for days. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Super Truck. What is this course? Oh, man, this is the diagonal. And of course, all those trucks are faster than me now. Come on, you dope. The cool thing about this point of the game, until you get to levels where you start getting killed, is that all you do with your winnings now is just buy nitro. Oh, this is one of those cool. I love the. This is a good bass soundtrack. You need guns in this game. So I don't know if Aaron's still around. I know it's pretty late East Coast, but I have a long article, and I think really maybe Vintage Volts. I'm trying to think of the real old school people in here. David, I don't know how far back your gaming and stuff goes, but I have an article that's 99% done for the Amigos, and it is a review of Auto Duel. And man, oh man, you know, I talk about this in the article, but I played a little bit of Car Wars with some kids in school, and then based on Car Wars, now this is one you could go a couple different ways, and I just stick to the outside path here. As long as you hit that entrance, you're all right. And Car Wars was a Steve Jackson game, and it was I called it was like D&D for cars if you took out the adventure and just left the combat. I mean, that's all it is driving around a track and shooting each other, and I mean, it was really fun. And Auto Duel is kind of a mess of a game. There's a lot, it has a big fan base, but yeah, so Car Wars, you know, is like, it was all dice based, and you drove around, and you had, the original had little pieces of cardboard for your cars, and you played on hex paper. And I guess there's later editions that actually had I'm gonna fix something here while I'm doing this. That is too much. That is too much flack. That is the right amount of flack. There we go. Anyway, so the thing about Auto Duel is, like, they wanted it to be an action game, like the guys that were developing it, and it was all no, I'm drawing a blank, but the guys that did Ultima, so they wanted it to be an action type game, but Steve Jackson wanted it to be a strategy type game, and so it's kind of like yeah, Origin, thank you, sorry, I was just drawing a blank. So it's like this weird combination that doesn't really, it's not good for either part. Like, the action part's way too hard, and then the strategy part is, I mean, like, the buying and stuff is kind of boring. So I don't know. And it's one of those games where like, I don't like to crap on games, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like music. Like, there, you know, there's music out there for everybody, you know what I mean? So just because it's not for me, I try to let it slide. I just go, well, it's not for me, but obviously it's for somebody, you know. And a lot of games are like that where I go, oh, I mean, so when you look at the reviews for Auto Duel, there are people that still play it today. There's like Auto Duel tournaments today, and I'm like, man, it's not for me, but I'm glad they love it, but read the first story in Harlan Ellison's Deathbird Stories. I will go check that out. Because I like both those things. I like Car Wars and I like Harlan Ellison. I watched a documentary on Harlan Ellison a year or two ago, and you know the thing is, he's such a and it's the level I can't beat. So we've come just about to the end. It's literally pinball for trucks. I mean, there's just no good path. Well, that path. Like, I've been playing this for, you know, where am I? I'm behind a rock or somewhere. I've been playing this game for 20 years, and I've just never found a path that's consistent. Am I in second or am I dead? Yeah, I'm dead. I could continue, but I think I'm about off-roaded off. It's such a weird picture. I mean, I know pixel artwork, you have to oh, hey, thank you for the follow, good sir. Oh, it's Amigo Cammy. What is going on? Look at that. I love when I see names that I recognize in here. I love pixel artwork, but there's always that thing where you know somebody spent hours on something, and then at the end they go, huh, that didn't look right. There's just something a little off with this picture, you know, like the front of the hood. Like if you look, it's weird. It doesn't line up with the back of the hood. Like where, I mean, unless it's like a big hump. I don't know. And then that dude's arm. I don't know. I always feel weird. Like criticizing things that I can't do. Like I go, oh, that's terrible. Can you do that? No, I can't draw stick people. Yeah, well, it's kind of, maybe it's wrecked, but I don't see any other damage here. Windshield and everything looks pretty good, so. Well, I think that about wraps up. This was kind of like Auto Duels, kind of like Auto Duel for 4x4 trucks, I guess, in a way. So we'll get this back over to the hey, well, Vintage Volts, thanks for the follow, you know, so you can set up notifications on Twitch. If you're new to Twitch, I was new to Twitch not so long ago, and you get notifications when I'll be streaming, and I stream every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, sometimes I'll do another show on the weekend or something like that, but what I've tried to do at least every other week is play the game that I'll be talking about on Sprite Castle. So in tomorrow's episode of Sprite Castle, I will be covering Super Off-Road for the Commodore 64. And so when you listen to the episode, you will know what the game looks like and how it plays. And then when I'm whining about being cranky about it, except for we spent more time playing the Super Nintendo version than the Commodore version, but that's all right. So yeah, maybe if you had I guess you do need guns for this to be Auto Duel, but maybe you could get some throwing stars or shrieking, or I don't know, some sort of projectile that we could toss out the window at other drivers. So anyway, hey, thanks everybody for coming in. As you guys know, I like playing games even though I'm no good at it, and but more than that, I like talking about games and talking to you guys. And so I love let's see what time. Oh, it's 0300. You know what? I only do Central. I can do East Coast. Actually, you know what's funny is I'm actually really good at time zones because for years and years I worked on our help desk, and I supported customers basically from Hawaii. I mean, just, you know, as far east as you could go, as far west as you could go, and people all over. And I also learned Alpha, Foxtrot, Beta. I used to do that, read people their passwords. So I used to always do that. So, all right, well, let's wrap this up. We will go finalize. Of course, now I'm zoomed in too far, so that is too much flack. Is there such a thing as too much flack? I think we can all agree there is. I will, as I always do, I will go check out Twitch, and I will see if there's anybody else streaming, and if there is, I have to mute the site or I get super feedback. So I see Anonymous on, and he has been playing pinball and Mr. stuff. So I think unless anybody has any friends that are streaming, we can raid them. Otherwise, we will bounce over to Anonymous and so we will go hop over to the Anonymous channel. But thanks again, and hopefully you guys, I will see you next Wednesday. And don't forget to check out Sprite Castle and You Don't Know Flack and all that fun stuff. And love all you guys, and I hope everybody is safe, and I hope you stay healthy, and I hope that 2021 is a better year for all of us. So, all right, let's I'm such a bad, I'm like the Wizard of Oz, like behind the scenes. I'm like, okay, now I'm clicking the stop recording button. I think you're just supposed to do the magic and not say what you're doing. But